Please welcome Mr. Ron Trent.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you.
And actually, I'm very happy for two reasons that he's here. One, because I'm a really big fan, and the second thing is that it's not an easy time that he's going through, as you are probably all aware of. One of his biggest mentors, and probably one of our biggest mentors, just passed away, but he was fortunate enough to be a close friend as well, Mr. Frankie Knuckles. And Ron was just telling me that he was taking the energy that he got from his emotions from this passing and turned it into music. And maybe we can start off with that. Or are there words you want to introduce this with?
I mean, I'll introduce, or just say a couple of words. I mean, the last couple of days have been very hard for me. Extremely hard. I'm not the kind of person that cries or anything like that. I'm just not wired up like that. But, you know, I found out that Frankie passed early in the morning, maybe about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning on Monday, from his inner circle. And past couple of days, I haven't really slept. I did get some rest last night, though. My way of actually getting through dealing with my emotions normally is to go and be creative in some form or fashion. Normally, you know, I use my fingers, my hands. I grew up playing percussion. Learned how to play keyboards later. So one of my grandest moments in time in dealing with Frankie is being a teenager, actually, and going to New York for the first time. And by that time, Frankie had moved to New York and had his residency at Sound Factory, which is probably one of the best sound systems that I've ever heard in my life. And what wound up happening that night is that it opened my mind to the possibilities of music and, you know, how music could be presented. Growing up in Chicago, we had great sound systems and things of that nature, and it was an illustrious time, and everybody talks about it. But experiencing Frankie Knuckles on that level of professionalism and the sound system and everything else, and the music that he was presenting at the time, because he was also producing a lot of very lush productions, you know, in particular at the time, because I went out for a new music seminar, his song that everybody, of course, relates to him in recent times is Whistle Song. And at that time, he was, you know, promoting it at the time, you know, which is what new music seminar used to be. It used to be like a staging ground for new music. You would listen to new music, and then, you know, people would sometimes get record deals, or you would hear new things. You know, you would go to all the clubs and that kind of thing. You know, Sound Factory was open. Red Zone was open at the time, which is where Dave Morales was playing.
Sound Factory was New York at that time.
Yes, we're talking New York. And you had the Shelter at the time.
So that's what time?
I'm talking about 91.
You were how old?
I was 18 years old. So just like some of these people that are coming and going to Panorama Bar and flying in and sneaking in, yes.
But can you compare that experience, though? Was the vibe similar?
You know, for me, you know, I mean, I can't speak for another man, another woman's mind. You know, I mean, the experience for me it was ethereal. You know, compared to some of the things that I had witnessed when I was a teenager in Chicago, DJing and going out to parties and that kind of thing. Because I got into this, I didn't get into DJ culture from a perspective of, you know, I went to a party and then I decided to be a DJ. It was something that was around me when I was a kid. My dad used to be a record pool director, which is someone who, at the time of the disco era, they used to actually have clubs. And in these clubs, they would get unreleased material that a lot of times that the major record labels wanted to promote to DJs, you know, to test out their records. And my father was a record pool director and a musician, things of that nature. A college buddy of his named Donald St. James was actually the president of this record pool.
So your dad got to pick the records?
Yeah, they went and they sifted through a lot of the garbage that came through and some of the good stuff, and then they would give it to their DJs. And then they would go to these DJs would then report back of like what they were playing. And this was a gauge of how the record labels, whether it had been an independent or a major, would gauge if a record was good or not. And so I got introduced to that culture through that medium, and then of course it was a street culture that was going on too. We were really into breakdancing and things of that nature.
That was mid-'80s.
Yeah, mid 80s. I actually started playing around in 1982, which actually wound up being the year that my father passed. Anyway, the bottom line is that, you know, I went through all these different experiences in the 80s and the culture of what became house music, because it wasn't house music back then. It was just music. It was music you could dance to. It had a dance sensibility. It was in its rawest form. Previous to that, you know, with the Warehouse and Frankie Knuckles, I mean, Frankie didn't even call it house music, obviously. But when they talked about the music that was being played at the Warehouse, they would say house music. And so it really didn't become a form until, you know, guys started making tracks and started making things to, you know, kind of capsulize the energy of what Frankie was playing. You know, he was just playing music that he heard and he felt. It was very much about creating moods and telling stories. That's what the culture is about. That's what all of this is really about. It began with David Mancruso, who was interested in taking people on a journey and getting people together in one room and dancing together. You know, because if you can dance together, you can live together. You can be you can live in a harmonious situation, and that was his philosophy. And this is what we do today. This is why I have a career. I have a career because of Frankie Knuckles. Frankie Knuckles came and opened the door for me in my career. You know, and that's why it's very hard for me, because, you know, without him and David Morales really playing my records, when I first was, before it even came out, quick story, I was DJing at this after hours club as a teenager. It's called The Reactor in Chicago. And DJ Rush used to play with me. People don't know that. People know Rush here? Because he lives here, right? I actually hired DJ Rush. That was my brother. That was my DJ partner. And Rush was very experimental back then. He used to play disco records very fast, and these tracks and different things. And he had a very vast knowledge of music. But, you know, together, along with another DJ by the name of DJ Jocko, we kind of, you know, made this place that was underground for a while, very popular. Frankie Knuckles came back to Chicago. I had done the record and decided I was going to release it with Armando Gallup on Warehouse Records.
Which was the title of that record?
Altered States. Excuse me. And there was Making Love and
you were how old again?
I was a young boy.
This is just to encourage everyone.
Yes, I was young, and we'll get into that a little later. But, and I'm just speaking about Frank. I have to do this, man, because without this guy, you know, touching my life and mentoring me along the way, I think maybe I might have, you know, decided to become an architect, which is what I wanted to do before. You know, I do a form of architecture now. It's called sound architecture, and that's how I consider it now. Anyway, Frankie had moved to New York. He came back, and he was doing one of his special parties, and we're talking 1990. You know, I had done the record, and Armando had said he had given it to Frankie when he had went to the new music seminar the year before, which was 1990. And so I'm like, oh, okay, all right, we gave it to Frankie Knuckles. Now, Frankie Knuckles is a hero in Chicago, a hero, a god. Like, through the era of the time that I came up, he was a hero, you know, mythical almost. And, you know, so, oh, you gave it to Frankie? Okay, all right, we'll see what happens. We'll see if he plays it. So he came back to Chicago. That night, I actually had to work at the club that I was at. Frankie Knuckles came and played that record 3 times, back to back.
And it's a track that's not 5 minutes long.
No, it's not.
How long was it?
I don't even, give me the record. I can even
It says 13 minutes.
There you go. Once at the beginning, twice in the middle of the party, from what I understood. And that solidified my career. They gave me the opportunity to have the world hear my voice musically. And, you know, if it hadn't been for that opening and him doing that, along with what he carried through and other guys carried throughout the business, I might not be sitting here. So I have to, you know, give, I'm just in the fullest gratitude to Frankie Knuckles and the energy that he brought to this earth. So, yeah. Anyway, one of the greatest moments that I had, like I said, Sound Factory, the following year, I was able to go hear Frankie Knuckles, very excited. Whistle Song was happening. He was making a lot of very lush productions. I kind of asked my brother A.B. and Jerome, who, we're working on the album together, I said, this has been a therapeutic piece for me. Should I play this for the people right now? And it may sound a little retro to you. I'm still working on it. And it's just, it's my emotions, it's my connection to Sound Factory, it's my connection to Frankie Knuckles. And I don't even know what it's going to sound like on here, but, I'll play it for you. And
Work in progress.
Work in progress, as my brother said. And this is kind of an ode to somewhat of the Whistle Song era and the stuff that Frankie was doing, and a lot of stuff that never got released, because I got a chance to, which I still own, some of the demos that Frankie had that never got put out. And he was working with a flautist at the time, John Popolo, and keyboard player, with two keyboard players, Eric Kupper and not Henry Schwartz, but I forget the other guy. But him and Eric Kupper did a lot of productions together. And here, check it out. I'm going to stop talking and let it speak for itself. I'm going to get a level.